does that word mean to you? Determination, resolve, ambition? The dictionary defines perseverance as the continued effort to attempt something despite difficulties. I think I've persevered at moments in my life. I made it to the top of Mount Whitney, a 22-mile hike. It was really hard, my legs hurt. I persevered and I finally accomplished my Advanced Communicator Silver recently. It only took me 2 years to finally do the 10 speeches, but I got it done. So I've had moments of perseverance, but really there's nothing grand about them, especially when compared to other people. One of those other people, perhaps you've heard of, is a man called Winston Churchill. I recently read a book about Mr. Churchill. It's called The Hero of the Empire. It's a book about the Prime Minister before he became Prime Minister, before World War II. It's a time when he was forming who he would become in the future. And what I found in this book is that Churchill was persistent in trying to accomplish the things that he wanted to accomplish despite the things that would make those accomplishments difficult. From a very young age, Churchill knew that he was destined for something great, and I think he even believed that one day he would lead his country. To accomplish those ambitious goals, he had to persevere. And there's a number of examples of that perseverance in this book, and I thought I'd tell you of a few. First, Churchill was determined to fight in battles. He was 21 in 1895 when he witnessed his first battle, and he describes hearing the sound of bullets striking flesh. My God, I would lose all of my resolve at that point. I think most people would. But for Churchill, success in battle meant recognition and distinction, and eventually political success. So at every opportunity, Churchill sought out assignments to participate in a battle. And he fought in Sudan, he fought in India. In fact, in India, he participated in the British efforts to put down a revolt by the Pashtuns. The Pashtuns were ferocious fighters. At the end of that battle, Churchill looked around and saw his fallen fellow soldiers, his fallen friends, and it must have been a horrific sight. But on the other hand, he felt invincible because he had survived. And then, more than at any other time during his life, he knew that he was destined for something great. He also persevered with politics. Against the advice of family and friends, he decided to leave his career as a soldier and set his sights more directly on politics. He was very young, maybe in his mid-40s, and he really only had one or two people supporting him already in politics when he decided to run for a seat in the House of Commons. Well, he lost. And when he lost, those in the party abandoned him. And I think this was probably maybe the first time that he'd had a really major failure. He describes it as feeling like a bottle of champagne left uncorked overnight. A great description. He was clearly deflated. But he wasn't dissuaded. He believed in himself more than anybody else, and he just figured, well, I just got to distinguish myself some more. And that's exactly what he had an opportunity to do when he found himself in prison in South Africa. In 1899, then as a journalist, he traveled to South Africa to report on the war, the British war against a group of people known as the Boers. The British wanted to retain them as part of their empire, and the Boers wanted their independence. Well, Churchill found himself on a train with a bunch of British soldiers when they were attacked by the Boers. And as was Churchill's nature, he couldn't help but insert himself into the fray and try and help. Well, they lost that battle, and Churchill and other soldiers were taken prisoner. Well, for Churchill, that was a fate probably worse than death. Not only was he horribly embarrassed to be a prisoner, but He's now out of the action. And in his mind, he had lost his opportunity to distinguish himself. And so from that moment when he was captured, he was trying to think of a way to gain his freedom. He tried to convince his captors that, I'm a journalist, you should let me go. He tried to rally his fellow prisoners to overrun the prison guards, take over the prison, and in fact take over the town of Pretoria, where the prison was located. And of course, he was plotting his escape. He continued to look for a way to gain his freedom. And he persevered. Eventually, he escaped the prison. It was a bold move, and he was all on his own on the other side of the fence. But he was still in an unfriendly land, and he had to make his way to freedom. He was constantly under threat of being captured, and if he was captured, he would have been shot. He had to walk for miles. He had to hide himself on trains. He had to hole himself up at the bottom of a coal mine in the dark to eventually reach freedom, which he did. And he was celebrated as a hero by his countrymen. Churchill, he persevered in seeking out opportunities to fight. He persevered with political losses, and he persevered to escape from prison. And all of those things set him up for his ultimate goal to be a leader of his country. And so the message I took from this book is that through perseverance, you can accomplish your goals. And for someone like Churchill, and for many people, really ambitious goals, lofty goals. But perseverance is for any goal that you set for yourself. Climbing a mountain, accomplishing a Toastmasters manual. And I think Churchill would acknowledge that. He said in a speech later during World War II, he said, never and nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in. And if you read this book, you'll see that that's truly how Churchill lived. Thanks.